What's going on, traders? A few things to talk about. We're going to get straight into it. Like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So, something we talked about in the last video is a possibility of a dead cat bounce happening between today and tomorrow. And that's exactly what we got. We saw the SPY drop all the way to about 633, 632, more or less. And now we are currently at a key level of 638. If we manage to get above 638, then we're heading towards 640 psych level, 641.5, 643. But most importantly, if you are looking to be really bullish, if you're talking about all time highs, you want to see the SPY get above 645. Another thing we talked about in the last video is a topping process, right? Was yesterday that the drop that we witnessed yesterday, was that a sign of the market topping? And like I said, I think we need more confirmation. Me specifically, I'm going to wait to Jackson Hole event to really determine if the market is starting to top. But even if we get, bad news or we get hawkish news on Friday, I'm going to more so wait on Monday to see how the market digests things, right? Because we can easily be pricing hawkish news in right now, right? We saw the market tank for the past 3 days or so. I won't even say tank for the past 3 days. It was really just yesterday. We just saw like a trickle down effect a few days prior, but ultimately I'm going to be waiting on Monday to really see how the market digests things over the weekend, right? Maybe we get, more news over the weekend. So that's just how I'm going to go about it. You do what you want with that information. But if we are looking at the SPY, something we talked about in the past multiple times is this trend line right here. So we're looking at the weekly time frame. And as you guys can see, we continue to play games around this trend line. This is something I talked about for the past few weeks or so, where we're probably going to see, a back and forth, up and down between this trend line here. You look at the past here, you rejected, broke above it, you broke below it, you broke above it, you broke below it. Same thing here. You formed your double top, you got your tariff news, you broke down, you ended up correcting, and now you're back above this trend line all over again. Now, if we go to the 4 hour time frame and get a much closer look, right, as you guys can see, just in case you think I'm making this stuff up and trend lines don't work or whatever the case may be, um, you broke below, right? You tried to break below, or bears tried to break us below, and you wicked right above this trend line. And crazy enough, you bounced off the trend line. And so if you look closely here, you can see that there's potential for a head and shoulders pattern here. Keyword is potential. It's not confirmed until you break the neckline. But you do have a potential shoulder here, head here, and another potential shoulder forming here as well. So what we want to see once again is the SPY get above 638. But most importantly, in my opinion, to really just not really worry about this head and shoulders pattern. We want to see the SPY get above 643. Why do I say that? Well, in order to invalidate a head and shoulders pattern or even a cup and handle pattern, because this can easily be a inverse cup and handle, you want to see the trend of the head get broken, right? In order for that to happen, I do believe that the SPY needs to get above 643. Okay, if we get above 643, 645 should be next. And then from there, you're talking about all-time highs, in my opinion. So that's what we're looking at for the SPY. Now, if you manage to break below this trend, right, because that's very much a possibility, then I do imagine that you are going to head towards the 625 level, 626, 625 level. You see here, you bounced here, you bounced here, you rejected here, you rejected here, you rejected here. So if we break below this trend, right? So for example, let's say we break, retest, boom. That's what I imagine is going to happen, especially if we get below 633, 632 zone. Okay. So that's what we're looking at for the SPY. Triple Qs. Now, triple Qs is very interesting here. Okay, very interesting. This is where we start questioning if this is a trap or not. So when you're looking at the 4 hour time frame, you see that I mean we talked about this in the past, right? This channel right here, right? We've been trading in this channel for I don't know how long. But what's important here is that you broke below the channel and you're below a key level. You're below that key level of 566 on the triple Qs. And so, looking at this, you'll be like, well, yeah, it's looking like puts, right? It's looking like push. You're below that key level of 566. You broke below a channel, right? You got, your rejection here, right? You got your consolidation here, your consolidation here, you bounced here, right? So very, very pivotal level in my opinion. I mean, you got a rejection over here as well. But when you look at the daily time frame, you have a reversal hammer pattern on the daily time frame. Okay, so this is where things start to get tricky. And so what I would do if I were you, or I guess just myself, what I plan on doing is waiting 30 minutes into open tomorrow to see how the market digests things. Me personally, it may be even more safe to just wait to Jackson Hole event. But if you are looking to trade tomorrow, this is something I would not take lightly. I would really pay attention to this because when you look at smaller time frames, yes, they scream downside, right? You're like, oh yeah, get some puts here. When you look at the daily time frame, I mean, this can easily turn into a bear trap, guys. Even if you get some downside tomorrow, right? Maybe you get some type of liquidity grab towards the downside. When you look to the left here, right, you see that bulls are very much present at around 560. So even if you get some downside here, maybe tomorrow afternoon you do one of these, right? You just break back up towards the upside. So I would be careful tomorrow. Okay. I can't say for sure if this is a bear trap, but when you're looking at the 4 hour time frame and below, yeah, you're screaming downside. But when you look at the daily time frame, you have somewhat of a reversal pattern here. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know every single reversal pattern out there, but I'm pretty sure this is a hammer pattern. You can even argue that this is a bullish pennant, right? We go to the even weekly time frame, and again, it's kind of looking sus, right? It's kind of looking like, oh, this might be a trap. So, what I would look for tomorrow, one, wait 30 minutes to open. That's just how I'm going to go about it. Two, I'm going to wait for that reclaim of 566. If we reclaim 566 and actually close above it on the 4 hour time frame or even the 2 hour time frame, because that's what I look at, that's when I will determine whether or not this is a trap, okay, or a bear trap. So, what I want to see, break, retest, and a bonus will be for us to get above 570. We'll be back within this channel here. And like I said, I always tell you guys, if you break into a channel or you roll back into a channel, there's a good chance you're going to continue in that direction. And that's when we're talking about all-time highs all over again. Okay. We'll have to wait and see. All right. But that's what I'm looking at. That's my idea heading into the rest of this week. We look at NQ, right? Same thing with NQ, right? NQ, if you get a bullish candle tomorrow, right? If you get a bullish candle and let's say NQ closes above 23,600, you're creating a higher low here, and then this will be another higher low here, right? But when you look at the 4 hour time frame, screams downside, right? You're looking at this, retest. You got your lower high here, and then you get maybe a retest here at around 23,400, and then you could potentially just break back down all over again, right? That's what we're looking at with the NQ. But when you look at the daily time frame, it's looking kind of reversal ish, right? So again, me personally, I'm gonna wait. Okay, I'm just gonna wait, see how the market digests things. 30 minutes into open tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. We look at the ES. I don't want to, drag it. I think you guys get the point here. But ES, zoom out. We see that ES, like we talked about in the past, it continues to play games around this trend line here, right? This blue trend line. Hopefully, you guys can see it. We go to the weekly time frame, like I've been saying, we're probably going to play games around this trend line for a few weeks or so, right? You break above it, you break below it, you break above it. You guys get the idea. We talked about this with the SPY, but again, you go to the 4 hour time frame, and as you guys can see, we've bounced off that trend line. Bear with me, bear with me. Bear with me, guys. All right. But we bounced off that trend line, right? Clean bounce, right? We broke below it. And then, Bears ended up failing. Bull stepped in. We wicked back above it. And then we tried to break back down again, wicked off of it, bounced back towards the upside. So, what you want to see here is a reclaim of this zone right here. So, we're not quite in the clear yet if you're looking to be bullish. What you want to see is a break and retest of 6,450. And then from there, you're heading towards 6,004 470, and then from there you're looking at 6,500, which is a very very pivotal area, very very strong psych level. So that's what you want to see if you're looking to be bullish. This zone right here between 6,430 and 6,450. Not only that, but if you manage to make that happen, you could be forming some type of inverse head and shoulders pattern. All right. So a few stocks that we want to go over here is MSTR. I gave you guys MSTR, or I talked about MSTR in the last video, and I told you guys that institutions were in what 355 calls for MSTR. Let me actually look that position up real quick. So, um, hold off real quick. We were looking at Carvana today. Institutions are in like 450 calls for Carvana. I have no clue how that's going to happen, but that's something you want to look out for if you are interested. I didn't do enough research on it, but if you want to check it out, feel free to do so. But we look at August 19th, and then we look at what was the date? I believe it was the 22nd, and then we look at 355 calls for STR. Yeah, so here it is. So as you guys can see, this is something we talked about in the last video where I was showing you guys that institutions they're playing out, right? Now, these were loaded at 337, but one thing I mentioned to you guys is the best thing you want to do is wait for MSTR to retest this trend line here on the daily time frame. All right, so we zoom out and you got your bounce here, and you bounced clean off the trend line. You broke below it a little bit, so I wouldn't say too clean, but you bounced off that trend line and you're bouncing back towards the upside. So it looks like those contracts are going to be in profit for whoever took them, whether it's a whale institution, some random millionaire, I don't know. But as you guys can see, once again, like we talked about in the last video, you guys 355 calls here. I think you had like 352 calls as well. 355 calls. So a lot of 355 calls came in for MSTR. So if these whales are still in this position or whatever the case may be, I imagine that MSTR is heading towards 364, 365 range from here. After hours, you're reclaiming this level right here, or you actually broke above it, I think, during market open. Yeah, so 343 was your key level here. So far, you're mounting this key level. So there is potential to head back towards I'm thinking that whoever's in those 355 calls are betting on MSTR heading towards this 364, 365 level, and then we'll see what happens from there. You're very illiquid here, very, very illiquid here. So that's a play that I was looking at, and hopefully you guys, did your own research, checked it out. Another play that I'm looking at, or I was looking at, and I pretty much, gave out as a trade idea was Palantir. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of Palantir. I've never been a fan of Palantir. Reason being is that Palantir, I've been screaming to Discord members, like not even screaming, not literally screaming. You guys get that. Hopefully, no one takes that literal. Some of you do. But I've been saying Palantir is just way too overweight up here. Like it was way too overvalued up here, right? Evaluation was way too high, and it was only a matter of time before this thing tanks, right? So I've been saying that for the longest. But I think Palantir is a good opportunity above 151. Okay. And this is something I mentioned in the Discord multiple times. Eyes on Palantir reclaimed a key level, 151 being the most important still. Right. And I've been pretty much talking about Palantir all day. Let me see if I can find a Palantir at a major zone here, with 151 being the most important level here. If Palantir can reclaim 151, there's potential for a reversal back towards the upside. And that's exactly what we got, right? And another key level that I mentioned in this court is 156. If Palantir reclaims 156, then I do believe you're heading towards 160, 162, possibly even higher than that. Now, it's important to note that you could be forming a head and shoulders pattern here. Shoulder here, massive giant head here, and then maybe another shoulder here. Me personally, I don't think that's going to be the case. You're very liquid up here. I think Palantir is going to grab liquidity up here at around 172, 170, 170 range. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think I wouldn't be surprised we consolidate in here. But ultimately, I do think we're going to, grab some liquidity up here at around 170, 175 range. So we'll see. But Palantir, short term, pretty bullish on it, right? For the long term, pretty bearish on it. I think it has more downside to go. But yeah, this just screams reversal. Another hammer pattern right here, reversal pattern right here. But yeah, 151 I think was a good buying opportunity right there. If you're interested in, I guess, having Palantir shares, me personally, I'm not interested at these levels. Again, I think it's way too high. I think it has way too high of a valuation. I've been saying this for weeks now. But if we're talking about like Palantir dumping towards the downside even more, right? I would imagine that it's going to head towards this area right here where these guys are at around 125, 120 range. And then we'll see what happens from there. But short term, I think Palantir can head towards minimum 160, 162. Max, I'm looking at is about 170, 175 range. That's what I'm looking at for Palantir, guys. All right. And lastly, Bitcoin, and I guess I'll go over Ethereum. It's probably going to trigger the bots. I'm just warning you guys now. It's probably going to trigger those weird bots that be talking about. I don't even know what they be talking about, but regardless, Bitcoin. So 112K, we're still holding that key level. I talked to you guys about this level before. What I want to see with Bitcoin, and I've mentioned this in the Discord, is a breakout here. So one, it needed to hold 114K, and two, it needs to break out here. And so far, you're doing exactly that. All right. So your next key level here for Bitcoin, if it continues towards the upside, is 115.751. All right. 0.750. You guys get the idea. All right. So far, you're breaking this trend, right? And I've been talking about this all day that I've been watching Bitcoin, right? And I'm looking for a breakout here. And so far, we're getting exactly that. We'll see if things continue tomorrow. Last but not least, Ethereum. By the way, I'm not extremely bearish on Bitcoin yet. Like I said, I don't think Bitcoin is going to crash anytime soon. I mean, you're going to get like some decent drops, but I don't think it's going to crash. Ethereum, talked about this as well. Somebody actually brought this to my attention that Ethereum is forming this massive, massive bull flag, guys. I mean, yeah, yeah. So I was hoping for that. Like, I'm not going to take back what I said. I was really praying for this move right here. I was really praying for this move right here towards about 3,200, but bull flag is clean, guys. The bull flag is looking real clean. So I imagine, Ethereum is probably going to head back towards 4,600. But if you're talking about the measured move here, if Ethereum continues to break out, you're talking about like a move towards 7,000, maybe like 8,000, something like that. Like I talked about in the last video, guys, Ethereum can head as high as 10K. I still think that's going to be possible. I would like to see it retest, 3,200, but it looks like it's about to leave me behind. So it is what it is. I'm not some super crypto head. I'm not pressed on money or anything like that. So, if I miss out, I miss out. But this is something you want to pay attention to. Maybe you're interested in investing into Ethereum. Do your own research. I know this Discord members are interested in it. Do your own research and all that fun stuff. But yeah, this bull flag. I mean, you can't deny it. Very clean. But that's pretty much the video, guys. Like I said, I'm probably not gonna make a video tomorrow heading into Jackson Hole event. I think it's really pointless to do so, but we'll see. We'll see. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the overall market. You think we're heading towards all time highs? Do you think we're just creating a lower high? You think the head and shoulders patterns are going to play out? Do you think Bitcoin is going to new highs? I know there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin heading towards new highs from here. So let me know what you guys think. Oh, another thing. Lastly, with Bitcoin, worst case scenario here, because I don't want to like give you guys the idea that it can't tank from here. Worst case scenario, it heads towards about 110, 109K. And then from there, I can't tell you what's going to happen. That's what we're looking at as a worst case scenario. But for now, potentially be forming a double bottom here, and then see what happens. So until the next video, traders, have a good one.